After the school awarded my early admission spot to the student who had bullied me, I gave up on the physics competition entirely. I refused to present anything as a representative, didn't bother to open my mouth, and for the joint exam of the 7 key high schools, I handed in a blank paper directly. When the school board came to inspect, they specifically called me out to meet them. What was inevitable had to be faced, so I stepped up and immediately made my accusation. I said flatly, "Dad, the school is being dodgy." After the exam scores were announced, I scored 706 points, squarely ranking first in the entire grade. The greeting I received wasn't congratulations, but the scornful looks of my classmates. My homeroom teacher held back my score report and called me into the office. Also summoned was Luna Henry, the vice principal's daughter, who threw a challenging glance my way as soon as she saw me. In the office, the homeroom teacher waited for both of us to sit down before. Getting straight to the point, the early admission spot has been decided. His eyes flickered between the two of us, then turned to Luna Henry. Smiling brightly and reaching out a hand, "Congratulations, Luna!" I maintained my cold expression, waiting for him to finish before I spoke. "And what about me?" The homeroom teacher's smile stiffened slightly. "Emilion, I called you in because I wanted to have a little discussion about your mindset." He continued, "I know you study very hard, and you've won quite a few awards over the past 3 years. But you're the stable, reliable type, whereas Luna Henry..." I cut him off, "whereas Luna Henry has mediocre academic performance, frequently, bullies classmates, and uses her power to pressure people. Is that it, teacher?" He glared angrily, his eyes wide. "Emilion, what are you saying? Haven't you learned enough from the last lesson?" I gave him a chilly look and asked coldly, "The lesson you're referring to is the time Luna Henry screamed for someone to lock me in the restroom, put all sorts of insects and mice in my desk, and even stole my books and school supplies and threw them in the trash. You knew about those things, didn't you, teacher?" Finishing my statement, I pointed at Luna Henry's arrogant demeanor and said, "Even with all that, the early admission spot is still hers?" The homeroom teacher seemed flustered, shot a look at Luna Henry, and then turned back to, "Soothe me. With your scores, getting into any university in the country will be easy." I interrupted. "The official notice clearly states that the early admission spot is preferentially given to the top student of the joint exam, correct?" The homeroom teacher frowned. "That's what it says, but you don't really need those few points anymore." I cut him off. "No, I need them. When I first entered high school, my father and I made a bet. If I secured the early admission spot, I wouldn't have to study financial management and could pursue music instead." I looked straight at the homeroom teacher and said, "Over the past 3 years, I've won 5 national awards, 16 city-level awards, and countless school-level ones. Every time I test, I'm the top student in the grade. And yet, the early admission spot still isn't mine?" The homeroom teacher was sweating profusely, his lips moving but unable to utter a word. Luna Henry glared at me, her voice shrill. "Stop being such a nuisance! Didn't you hear what he said? It's just one early admission spot. If I'm unhappy, I can make sure you never raise your head in life." I didn't reply, just silently watched the homeroom teacher until he began to lose patience and said, "Regulations are fixed, but people are flexible. The early admission spot is finalized. It can't be changed now. Just study hard and score a few extra points on the college entrance exam. It won't make much difference." I nodded, lowered my gaze, turned, and walked away. Just as I stepped out of the office, Luna Henry chased after me and called me back. "Emilion, some people are born in Rome, and others are born as beasts of burden. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not having a good father." Stepping out of the office, I pulled out my phone and called my beast of burden father, but no one answered. A short while later, my dad texted back via WeChat, "Just arrived at the M Country Embassy. What's up, my precious daughter?" I laughed. "Nothing much, just had someone call us beasts of burden." My dad immediately transferred $500,000 to me, along with a message, "You've worked hard studying. Take this money to buy some good food and treat yourself. I have to go into a meeting. I'll bring you a local specialty gift when I get back." The bell for class rang. As soon as I walked into the classroom, I heard Luna Henry's exaggerated laughter. "It's just an early admission spot. It's not a big deal." Her group of friends, seeing me walk in, immediately lifted their heads and looked down their noses disdainfully, their chatter ringing out, "Still, this is an early admission spot some people can only dream of but can't get." Exactly. So what if she studies well? In the end, she's still not as good as Luna. I pretended not to hear anything, quietly sat down, and started studying. After class, even when the homeroom teacher called me back, I acted as if I hadn't heard him, calmly walking right past him. He grabbed my arm, leaned close to my ear, and said unhappily, "Next Friday is the city-level physics competition. You will represent the school. It's a regional competition, which affects the school's reputation. Prepare thoroughly this week. If you have any questions, ask the physics teacher." His voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for the whole class to hear. I glanced at him, pulled my hand away, and spoke even louder. "I'm not going." The homeroom teacher's remaining words were stuck in his throat. His tiny eyes behind his glasses widened, as if he'd seen a ghost in broad daylight. It wasn't just him. The entire class was stunned and began to whisper, "What's wrong with Emma Leon? Didn't she always love these kinds of competitions the most? Wherever there's glory, she's there. Why this time? Ah, I get it. She didn't get the early admission spot, so she's deliberately defying the teacher. Ha! Who does she think she is, trying to threaten the teacher?" The homeroom teacher regained his composure, his frown tightening. "The school only has one spot for this competition. If you don't go, who will?" I leaned against the wall. "Whoever wants to go, can go." The homeroom teacher said angrily, "Emma Leon, this is not just for you, but also for the school's honor." I slowly lifted my eyes, indifferent. Who cares? The homeroom teacher was so furious that his fingers trembled, and he yelled in anger, "Emma! I prioritized you for so many competitions, gave you so many opportunities. Is this how you treat me now?" I genuinely wanted to applaud his sheer audacity. At this moment, Luna Henry tossed her chin and stepped forward, saying proudly, "Teacher, if she won't go, let me go." I only lost 5 points in physics during the last joint exam. I practice problems at home regularly. No problem. The homeroom teacher nodded repeatedly. "Luna is still the sensible one. I didn't misjudge you." Then he shot me a look and said, "Truly ungrateful." After the teacher left, Luna Henry shot me a fierce glare. "What's with that look? Are you looking down on me?" Before I could answer, she sneered, "Don't think you're the only one who's smart. It's just a minor physics competition. I will definitely score higher than you." Since I didn't have a competition, I had rare free time on the weekend and decided to go home. Only my sister-in-law was sitting in the living room. Seeing me, she asked in surprise, "Emma, aren't you preparing for the competition?" I shook my head and asked, "You know about a competition?" My sister-in-law replied, "The city is hosting a physics competition tomorrow. I was invited to supervise the exam room," my sister-in-law explained, and then seemed to remember something, saying, "Since you're back, why don't you come with me?" I smiled and replied, "What would I go for?" My sister-in-law was surprised. "Don't you want to try solving the physics problems this time? I heard there are 2 new types of problems, and they are very difficult." I was immediately interested. Besides music, the thing that fascinated me most was solving all kinds of tricky problems. The feeling of breaking through the clouds to see the sky was truly addictive. So, the next day, I went with my sister-in-law to the exam venue. When the exam started, she arranged a separate office for me to sit and work on the problems. Near the end of the session, my sister-in-law suddenly pushed the door open and angrily threw her keys onto the desk. My train of thought was interrupted, and I looked up to ask, "What's wrong?" She tucked her hair behind her ear and said, "Nothing major, just a female student cheating." I frowned. "Has it been handled?" My sister-in-law replied, "Not yet. It's a special situation, so I didn't want to disturb others. I just recorded her exam number and will report it later." With that, she casually picked up the stack of papers I had completed. "All finished?" I smiled and replied, "Almost done." She collected the papers. "All right. I have a meeting later, so I'll conveniently take your papers to the grading team. If you get bored, you can take a taxi home by yourself first." Leaving the room, I coincidentally ran into Luna Henry and the homeroom teacher. The teacher was talking about this physics competition. The school leadership highly valued this exam and personally accompanied Luna Henry to the competition. Her usual lackeys were also hovering outside the exam room. A few people gathered, laughing and chatting, almost blocking half the doorway. As I walked toward the gate, they spotted me. Seeing me was like hounds spotting a bone. They immediately surrounded me and bombarded me with questions. "Emma Leon, what are you doing here?" "I knew it! You said you wouldn't participate, but deep down you must be regretting it to death, right?" "Definitely regretting it. The first prize this time is a whopping 10,000 yuan! A poor family like yours could probably live off that for a whole year." The homeroom teacher not only didn't stop them, but also turned to criticize me. "I gave you a chance, and you didn't take it. Now you're following us all the way here? What for?" I frowned. "I'm following Luna Henry?" He challenged. "Otherwise, how would you know the exam room is here?" I replied, What the hell does it have to do with you? Luna Henry was furious. Don't push your luck! Get lost! One of her lackeys quickly stepped out to mediate. Forget it, Luna. Don't bother with her. She's just jealous of you. I gave the lackey a cold look and said, You get lost too. Seeing that the situation was about to escalate, the homeroom teacher finally spoke. All right, stop arguing. Luna, what did you think of the exam? Luna Henry's angry face immediately turned smug. I thought it was fine. The problems were easy, and I finished quickly. Winning first place shouldn't be a problem. The lackeys gathered around, pretending to be amazed. Wow, we knew it! Luna is the best! The homeroom teacher was so excited, his eyebrows almost flew up. He patted her shoulder proudly and said, I heard there are new problem types this time. Even I wasn't sure Emma Leon would do well. I'm so glad you're confident. Luna Henry smiled and said, Teacher, how can Emma Leon compare to me? After all, she's a loser who failed under my hand. I took a deep breath, turned, and walked away. Behind me, the mocking voice rang out. Emma Leon, running so fast? You were so bold just a moment ago? I didn't bother to turn my head, just replied blandly. I don't climb, don't compare, and won't be trampled on. Go be mad until you die. I don't know what Luna Henry told her vice principal father when she got home. On Monday morning, during the flag-raising ceremony, the vice principal, Nolan Henry, Luna Henry's father, spoke into the microphone, praising his daughter. Grandly, student Luna Henry of class 1201 has achieved exceptionally brilliant results in this city-wide physics competition. Please give her a round of applause. The entire schoolyard echoed with applause. He also conveniently took a jab at me. Furthermore, I want to criticize a student for being arrogant and placing personal emotions above collective honor, completely disregarding the glory of the school. Before he could finish, a sudden screech of brakes echoed from the back gate of the schoolyard. A black sedan slid onto the field, and 3 men in sharp suits stepped out, walking directly toward the stage. The homeroom teacher immediately recognized them, his eyes lighting up. He whispered to the vice principal, They are members of the Physics Competition Supervisory Committee. Vice Principal Nolan Henry heard this, put down the microphone, and greeted them with a hearty smile. Oh, so it's the gentleman from the city. Welcome, welcome. The 3 men had serious expressions. They only shook hands briefly, and the leader spoke. We are members of the Physics Competition Organizing Committee. We are here today to find someone. Since the microphone hadn't been turned off, their conversation was transmitted to all the students below. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, Nolan Henry's face flushed with excitement, and he eagerly asked, Who are you looking for? Is it Luna Henry? The expression on his face clearly said, I knew it. He turned and shouted into the microphone, Luna, come up here quickly. Luna Henry puffed out her chest and lifted her head, walking up under the gaze of the entire school. As she passed me, she even deliberately snorted coldly. After confirming her identity, one of the 3 men spoke. The results of the physics competition yesterday are in. Regarding student Luna Henry, Before he could finish, Nolan Henry couldn't hide his excitement and interrupted. I know. You must have come personally to congratulate Luna, right? It's really too much trouble for you to come all this way. Luna has been an excellent child since she was young. Her winning first place this time is within our expectations. The 3 members of the supervisory group grew more confused the more they listened, and finally couldn't bear it anymore and cut him off. Please let us finish. Nolan Henry still smiled and said, Yes, go ahead. The man leading the group pulled a piece of paper from his pocket after discussion by the supervisory group. Student Luna Henry has been discovered cheating in the recent physics competition. We will invalidate her results, proceed with disciplinary action, and make a public announcement citywide. Nolan Henry's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible! How could my daughter cheat? A member of the supervisory group frowned unhappily, shoving the paper into his hand and replying, This is the disciplinary decision. If you have any objections, you can submit an appeal to the City Education Bureau. Although he said that, with such an official penalty issued and people sent in person to announce it, the possibility of error was almost zero. Having said their piece, they prepared to leave. Nolan Henry's face went from flushed to pale, and then ashen. He raised a hand to stop them. What exactly happened? There were 2 invigilators and 4 cameras in the exam room. If she really cheated, why wasn't it discovered on the spot? And why is the penalty being issued now? The man glanced at Luna Henry, his voice full of innuendo. You'll have to ask your daughter. She's young but quite cunning. daring to hide a miniature signal receiver in her hairpin and earrings. It would be wonderful if these little tricks were used in the right way. Nolan Henry turned to look at his daughter. Over 2,000 pairs of eyes from the entire school also converged on Luna Henry. What was supposed to be a ceremony of honor ultimately turned into a public trial. Luna Henry's face was as white as paper, and her voice trembled. I don't know anything about a signal receiver. The man interrupted her, saying, "Don't try to deny it. All the evidence has been sent to the police. Young student, you might have to come with us to the police station to clarify a few things." Hearing the words police station, Luna Henry couldn't say another word and collapsed to her knees in front of Nolan Henry. "Dad! It's not my fault. My friend taught me how." Nolan Henry gritted his teeth. He wanted to scold her but didn't dare, as people were all around. He only managed to say through clenched teeth, "Get back to class." Luna Henry hung her head and returned to the line. A teacher from another class, who had never liked my homeroom teacher, let out a derisive chuckle. "I thought your class's student was about to shine." "She certainly is shining, all the way to the police." My homeroom teacher's face was as dark as coal. I had to exert all my effort to imagine my paternal third aunt who had died nearly a decade ago, just to restrain myself from bursting into laughter. The flag-raising ceremony concluded, and Luna Henry was taken away by Nolan Henry, never to return to class. By noon, the disciplinary conclusions related to the morning ceremony were announced. Luna Henry was suspended from school for investigation and would not return to school temporarily. The homeroom teacher, who had personally accompanied her to the competition, also had his semester bonus cut entirely. That afternoon, he was so furious that he lost his temper in class. Standing in front of the class, he indirectly blamed everything on me. Things were going smoothly, and suddenly we encountered bad luck. If the person hadn't been changed, how would I be suffering this injustice? The class held its breath. No one dared to speak. Only I was at ease, using my jacket as a pillow, leaning comfortably on my desk, and nodding in agreement. Exactly. If the person hadn't been changed, it would have been so much better. When he said change the person, he meant changing the student for the physics competition. I, on the other hand, was referring to the early admission spot. When he realized this, his face grew even more displeased. He pointed at me and scolded me relentlessly. "The teacher is talking. Why are you interrupting? Emma Leon, I thought you were a good student, but I didn't realize your nature was so rotten. Get out and stand outside." I picked up my jacket, stood up, and left the classroom. The door behind me was shut decisively by me. 3 minutes later, I knocked and walked back in. The homeroom teacher asked with a frigid expression, "What do you want now?" I leaned aside, gestured toward the door where a handsome, aloof young man stood, and said, "Someone is looking for you." The homeroom teacher's sharp gaze, upon looking towards the door, instantly softened, even becoming a bit fawning. "Egan, Kevin? What are you doing here?" The moment he finished speaking, the class erupted in murmurs. "Oh my God, it's Egan Kevin from high school number 3. "Really? Ah! It's him, my dream guy. He's rich, smart, and was even on the local Spring Festival gala last year." Egan Kevin stood by the door, appearing aloof but very polite. "Hello, teacher. I'm looking for a student in your class." The homeroom teacher's smile widened, pretending to be enthusiastic. "Who are you looking for? Who in my class is worthy of a young master like you personally coming to find them?" I was leaning against the wall, not paying much attention to those words, until I heard him clearly utter each word. "Emma Leon." The homeroom teacher's smile stiffened, and I slightly raised an eyebrow to look at him. The entire class went silent for 5 short seconds. Egan Kevin politely added, "I heard she's in this class. Could I see her for a moment?" My eyes and the homeroom teacher's met. In his eyes was undisguised surprise and embarrassment. After a moment, he forced himself to turn his head to look at me, his eye twitching repeatedly. What do you want with Emma Leon? Did she cause some trouble?" Egan Kevin shook his head, his expression somewhat strange. He thought for a few seconds, then pulled a test paper from his backpack, opened it, and said, "No, I just want to ask about the idea for the last question of this physics problem. I don't understand her solution." The homeroom teacher snatched the paper, looked at it for a few seconds, and his face darkened. "What kind of problem is this?" Egan Kevin replied, "The city-level physics competition paper." The homeroom teacher's eyes widened as if struck by lightning. "You're mistaken. Emma Leon didn't take the exam this time. How could she have done this paper?" Egan Kevin frowned, his voice clearly showing dissatisfaction. "It can't be mistaken. I took this picture from my uncle's actual exam paper. He's on the problem-setting committee. The final, most difficult question on this paper was solved by Emma Leon alone in the entire city. I remember it very clearly. Having said that, he turned to look at the homeroom teacher. Suspicious. Isn't Emma Leon a student in your class? The information was too shocking. The homeroom teacher used every wrinkle on his forehead to process it. Being questioned like that, he quickly reacted. Of course, she's a student in my class. Egan Kevin asked. Then, where is she? His eyes shifted back toward me, his tongue tied, unable to speak. The next second, I lightly patted Egan Kevin's shoulder from behind and asked, Hey, you're looking for me? Egan Kevin, who usually maintained a calm demeanor, was momentarily stunned. He assessed me from head to toe, then spoke. You are Emma Leon? I smiled and replied, Yep, I'm currently being punished to stand outside. Can't you tell? Egan Kevin didn't say anything, but automatically sat down next to me, right in the hallway outside the classroom. He squatted with me, patiently listening as I explained the solution to the problem. No matter how much the homeroom teacher called and beckoned him to come sit inside the classroom, Egan Kevin paid no attention, merely coldly refusing. If Emma Leon can sit here, I can too. The homeroom teacher's face was so angry that it was purple like a pig's liver. Close to the end of the school day, I finally finished explaining. Before leaving, Egan Kevin asked for my phone number and said, The joint school exam is coming up. We can exchange ideas. I gave him my number. Egan Kevin carefully saved it, his eyes deep as he asked, Your homeroom teacher doesn't seem to like you much? I raised an eyebrow. Is it that obvious? He didn't answer, just gave a slight smile, the corner of his mouth slightly curved. I understand. No worries. See you soon? At the time, I didn't fully grasp what Egan Kevin meant by see you soon. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, when I saw him at the symposium, that I understood what he meant by see you again. There are a total of 7 key high schools in the city. A joint exam is held every year, preceded by a symposium to boost morale. Students ranked in the top 100 of each school are invited to attend. This year, the venue for the symposium happened to be at my school. Each school had to send an outstanding student to give a representative speech. High school number 3 sent Egan Kevin. As for my school, I stared at the pot-bellied supervisor, who was desperately trying to comb his side hair over his bald spot. I said coldly, Representative speech? You never asked for my opinion. The supervisor's eyes flickered, and he spoke vaguely. Too much work recently. I forgot. Please understand. It's just a simple stage appearance to share study experiences. It's easy for you. I crossed my arms, my eye catching the homeroom teacher secretly looking over. It became clear to me the person originally intended to speak was probably Luna Henry, but after the cheating scandal, they couldn't use her, so they called me up to fill the gap. I didn't blink and refused. I'm not going. The supervisor frowned, showing impatience. Stop with the childish games. Your homeroom teacher told me everything. Compared to the school's honor, it's nothing. This speech is also an honor for you. Do you know how many people want this opportunity? I replied blandly. I don't know. Why don't you let them go instead? The supervisor was choked up, his eyes showing increasing displeasure. I told you to go, so you must go. Smiling and bringing honor to the school is your responsibility. Don't push your luck. With that, without waiting for my reply, he answered his phone and left, not forgetting to give me a warning look, as if certain I wouldn't dare defy him. I paid no attention, strode out of the auditorium, found a shady spot, and leisurely played a game. Half an hour later, a male student from the school rushed to find me. Emma Leon, the teachers are going crazy looking for you. Hurry back. Don't let me get in trouble and get scolded. Not wanting him to be implicated, I reluctantly and lazily returned to the auditorium. As soon as I stepped in, the supervisor and the homeroom teacher simultaneously yelled, Where have you been? I didn't answer. I just lifted my foot to sit down, but was pulled back by the supervisor. Hurry up! Our school's representative student is speaking in 5 minutes. Go backstage and prepare. I stood still as a statue, picked my ear, and asked, What did you say? The supervisor shouted, Representative, speech! I shouted back equally loudly. Speech about what? The supervisor shouted again, Representative speech! I tilted my head. Representative of what? The supervisor was so angry, his neck veins bulged, and he hissed, Emma Leon. Don't be so unreasonable. I just smiled without replying. He took a deep breath, trying to suppress his anger. All right, what do you want so you'll agree to go on stage? I pursed my lips, the corner of my mouth curving slightly in a smile that wasn't quite a smile. I stared intently at him and the homeroom teacher, who was standing beside him with a pale face. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "The early admission spot hasn't been submitted for approval yet. We can still negotiate. As long as you cooperate, I will try my best to propose it to the school for you." The homeroom teacher looked at me with a condescending expression. "Are you satisfied now? Can you go backstage yet?" I burst out laughing. Under their gazes, which seemed certain they had me in their grasp, I calmly pulled out my phone, opened my game, and continued playing. The supervisor finally couldn't hold back, lunging forward to snatch my phone but failed. He was trembling with anger, pointing at my face and scolding, "Emma Leon, don't go too far! You are a student but not listening to orders constantly, laughing and looking down on school discipline. Do you believe I can immediately record 2 disciplinary faults in your file so you can't graduate?" His words were loud enough that the surrounding students started turning to look. The situation was becoming serious. I slowly put away my phone, feigning concession. "Are you sure you want me to give the speech?" The supervisor immediately replied, "Absolutely sure." I clapped my hands, lifted my feet, and walked toward the stage, saying loudly as I walked, "Fine. Then I must sincerely thank the school for losing the early admission spot that was rightfully mine, only for it to cycle back to me again. I will also be sure to highly praise this physics competition, because thanks to a famous figure, our school managed to have people from the city education committee come in person, specifically requesting a meeting. After only a few steps, the supervisor yanked me back. Both their eyes stared at me venomously and said, "Emma Leon, you're very clever." I smiled modestly and replied, "Compared to the teachers, I'm nothing." The supervisor ignored me and turned to say something to the head administration side. The host temporarily postponed our school's representative speech to the very end. It should be known that in previous years, high school number 1 was always the first to speak. After the symposium, I was invited by the principal for tea. In the cool office, the bald principal smiled kindly and said, "Have a seat." I didn't sit, going straight to the point, principal. I assume you called me because of the matter at the symposium? The principal smiled without any mirth, both correct and incorrect. "The school is at fault regarding the early admission spot. However, what you did this time was a bit excessive. A student confronting the school is not something a smart person should do." This sentence could only be used to scare children. My father is the superior of the principal's superior. I had been accustomed to hearing him speak since I was young, and I had long cultivated a diamond-like, unshakable core. Seeing that I wasn't intimidated, but instead showed impatience, the principal's eyes became a little deeper. Finally, he got straight to the point. "Regarding fault, let's consider the school, and you even. As long as you win first place in this joint exam and bring glory to the school, the early admission spot will definitely be yours." I said, "Oh," and asked again, "And what if I don't win first place?" The principal smiled and replied, "I know your ability well. Not even Egan Kevin can surpass you. But if by chance you don't perform well, we will still evaluate everything to consider you. You don't need to worry. Just perform to your best ability, first threatening, then enticing, and finally placating with a few nice words." I couldn't help but clap my hands and say, "Perform? I will definitely perform well." The principal was very satisfied and personally escorted me out. In the afternoon, near the end of the school day, I once again pushed open the principal's office door. He smiled and asked, "What's wrong? Having some difficulties?" I didn't say anything, just bent down to pick up the pen I had previously dropped under his desk. The principal smiled and saw me out, his eyes full of friendliness. "Be more careful next time. The joint exam of the 7 key high schools is a major event in the city, and every school takes it extremely seriously. This is not just a competition among students, but also a covert and overt battle between the schools themselves." My exam venue was at high school number 5. Although students were shuffled and divided into different rooms, almost every teacher recognized the elite seeds of each school. Therefore, as soon as I walked into the exam room, the invigilator's eyes immediately fell on me, full of concern. According to regulations, students are allowed to submit their papers half an hour early. When everyone else was burying their heads, fighting for every second, I smiled and raised my hand to the invigilator. His eyes showed surprise, joy, and admiration, and he even gestured to ask, "Aren't you going to check your answers?" I shook my head. The invigilator was even more satisfied, murmuring to himself that she truly lived up to her reputation as the top student of high school number 1. Confident, calm, and daring. He walked over, smiled, and looked at my exam paper. 1 second later, a pile of question marks must have appeared in his mind. I handed in a blank paper for all 6 subjects. This action shocked the entire examination board. 2 days later, when the exam results were announced, it was my school's turn to be shocked. The entire administration of high school number 1 stared at the score sheet, flipping back and forth through the top. 100 utterly disbelieving. What the hell? Where is Emma Leon? Meanwhile, the student who was always guaranteed the last spot looked at the ranking with a confused expression. I only managed to guess 6 points worth of multiple choice questions right, and now I'm second to last? That great God is even lower than me? In the office, the principal threw a stack of exam papers in front of me and roared, "Emma Leon!" A blank paper? You dared to hand in a blank paper. Are you insane? The moment he saw the scores, he hadn't believed it, thinking the grading software had an issue. He hurriedly asked someone to check my exam paper. When he opened it, damn it, it was truly blank. I said calmly, "No." He pointed at my face and yelled, "Then what were you thinking? This is the joint school exam. You dared to hand in a blank paper. Do you still want to go to university?" I laughed. It's the joint school exam, not the college entrance exam. What does my going to university have to do with me handing in a blank paper? The principal was so angry that his heart ached. He clutched his chest and hissed, "Because of your blank paper, the school doesn't have a single student in the top 10 citywide this time. You still dare to maintain that attitude without any remorse." I pretended to be surprised and asked, "Oh, where did I go wrong? Where am I wrong?" I blinked, cutting him off before he could scold me further. Every time I'm first in the grade, I strive to secure the early admission spot. Yet, the teachers gave it to someone else without a word. Now you're turning around and blaming me for not being magnanimous, trying to force me to give up? If scores are no longer the deciding factor, then how many points I score is my business. Even if I handed in a blank paper, I don't feel embarrassed. Why are you so angry? Tell me clearly, where did I go wrong? Wrong for not obeying the teacher? Or wrong for not bowing down and enduring? The principal's face went from red to green, trembling with anger as he roared, "You! Get out of my sight!" I nodded, smiled, and said, "I can get out. But maybe you'll all have to beg me to come back later?" He glared at me, his voice strained. "Impossible. Our school absolutely will not tolerate a student with such a bad attitude. I will immediately expel you. I will report this to the higher authorities, giving you a disciplinary record that will prevent you from taking the college entrance exam." I laughed coldly and said, "Hurry up and do it, please." The principal quickly pulled out paper, a pen, and the seal. His hands trembled as he wrote, scolding, "Expelled from high school number 1. So what if you're smart? What school would dare to accept you? With your family background, do you think you still have a chance to step foot inside a school gate?" I just smiled without replying. In fact, when I first entered high school, my father and I made a bet. I swore I would prove it to him using my own abilities, which is why I kept my true identity and family background completely hidden from everyone. The principal signed my expulsion notice. After stamping it, he fiercely threw the expulsion decision onto the desk in front of me and yelled, "Get lost!" I picked up the paper, dusted it off, and, very obediently, got lost for real. Initially, I hadn't planned to escalate the situation. To this extent, I could actually still resolve it myself. At most, I wouldn't go to school and would register for the college entrance exam independently. However, the next morning, my older brother and sister-in-law placed a stack of serious documents on the table, their faces extremely heavy as they asked, "Emma, what is this about?" I took it, and my eyes immediately darkened. It was a petition for disciplinary action, briefly stating that I had cheated in the recent joint school exam. The accuser was none other than my principal. Cheating in the joint school exam was far more serious than the previous physics competition. The physics incident, with a bit of networking from Luna Henry and her father, could have been swept under the rug because the scope of impact was small and easily manipulated behind the scenes. But the joint exam was different. If there was solid evidence, I would be banned from taking the college entrance exam. For a student with no background, no influence, and unable to appeal, this could destroy her whole life. My brother, aware of the gravity of the matter, quickly spoke to reassure me, "Emma, don't worry, leave this to me. You just need to focus on preparing for the college entrance exam." With less than a month left until the college entrance exam, I pondered for a moment, and then told my brother, "Yes, but I guess the bet between Dad and me is off." My brother said, "It's okay. Let me arrange your transfer to high school number 3 first." And so, a month later, I officially took the college entrance exam as a student of high school number 3. Half a month later, the exam scores were announced. I scored 731 points, instantly soaring to become the city's top scorer. In the principal's office at high school, numbers 1. All the teachers stared at the rankings, unable to believe their eyes. Read it again. Who is the top scorer? The principal stared at the screen, his eyes bloodshot with fury and envy. Emma Leon? How did she end up at high school number 1? 3? Didn't I tell you to ruin her? Why should high school number 3 benefit from what I couldn't have? The supervisor stammered. We submitted the disciplinary petition exactly as you instructed. The principal roared, Go issue the announcement right now. Just as the good news of my top score spread, countless defamatory remarks began to appear online. Emma Leon used to study at high school number 1 and was expelled for moral corruption, but surprisingly, high school number 3 took her in, probably just based on her grades. But I heard she got a 0 for cheating in the joint school exam. What? Then could her high score in the college entrance exam also be cheating? No matter how the public debated, high school number 3 fully supported me. When the principal of high school number 3 was interviewed, his face beamed like a blooming flower as he said, It is certainly a joy for our school to have the top student. Huh? She was originally a student at high school number 1? So what? The student now belongs to high school number 3, so she is one of ours. She is bringing glory to high school number 3. The reporter asked, Excuse me, was Emma Leon expelled from high school number 1 due to moral corruption before coming to high school number 3? Or did high school number intentionally poach a student from another school? The principal of high school number 3 chuckled, waving his hand. Oh dear, why believe those online rumors? Emma Leon is such an excellent student. It is our honor that she chose high school number 3 at the most crucial moment. As for those who couldn't have her and want to ruin others, well, stop being so jealous. The principal of high school. No one saw the radiant smile of the principal of high school. No 3 on the screen, so angry that he ground his teeth, nearly shattering them. He couldn't understand, the same thought repeating in his mind. Finally, he was so furious that he intended to order a further investigation. However, before he could act, the school board suddenly sent a notice that they would be inspecting the school and holding the graduation ceremony, explicitly requesting my attendance. Receiving the notice, the principal was both angry and panicked. Emma Leon again? She's a student of high school number 3 now. Where am I supposed to find her to attend the graduation ceremony? The supervisor was sweating profusely. How about we try contacting Emma Leon? After all, she studied at high school number 1 for 3 years. She probably wouldn't be so heartless. Oh, the principal gritted his teeth and roared, asking me to bow down to that damn girl? But the board is... Then he painfully closed his eyes and continued, Fine, call her. When I received the call, I was unwrapping the gift my father brought back from abroad. I glanced at the phone, didn't think much of it, and agreed. On the other end of the line, the supervisor's voice was filled with disbelief. You agreed? I chuckled softly and replied, Should I have refused? The supervisor quickly said, No. See you at the graduation ceremony, Emma. The graduation ceremony was held in the school's large auditorium, which could seat up to 3,000 people. The auditorium was packed, not a single empty seat. As soon as I arrived at the entrance, I saw a group of school administrators, standing there, their expressions grim and angry as they stared at me. The principal forced a stiff smile. Emma Leon, you're very clever. I returned a smile and replied, Is that so? I can be even cleverer. Their faces were full of doubt, clearly not understanding what I was saying. It wasn't until the graduation ceremony began, and my father, as the representative of the school board, stepped onto the podium. The stage lights shone brightly. Under the horrifyingly dazed eyes of the administrators, I calmly walked towards him and said, Dad, I want to make a speech. 3 seconds later, the entire auditorium exploded. Oh my God! General Director Jacob Leon is Emma Leon's father! The man they had meticulously buttered up, Mr. Jacob, who was also my father, gave a benevolent smile, handed me the microphone, and turned to ask, allowing the top scorer to say a few words shouldn't be a problem, right? The crowd below the stage seemed to be saying, Who would dare say it's a problem? I stepped onto the stage, calmly pulled a voice recorder from my pocket, directed it at the microphone, and pressed play. It was instantly recognizable as the supervisor's voice. They agreed. Next was the principal's voice, full of malice. Exactly. Do you think I can't handle a little girl? The supervisor gave a forced laugh and agreed. No. The principal is still the most formidable. That little girl, Emma Leon, looked obedient at first, but unexpectedly, She's such a troublesome, difficult type. It's nothing more than her throwing a tantrum because she didn't get the early admission spot, trying to cause trouble to prove herself. That type isn't worth worrying about. But principal, are you really going to give her the early admission spot? The principal replied, How could I? Nolan Henry has given us quite a few benefits for that spot. The promise was just to placate the girl a little, wait for her to achieve good results in the joint school exam, and then we'll find an excuse to refuse her. The supervisor asked again, but what if she gets angry? The principal said gleefully, So what if she's angry? The college entrance exam is coming up. Does she dare not to take it? The principal paused for a moment and continued, I've checked. She's just a little girl with no background. At most, her parents will come and cause a minor scene. A bunch of tiny ants. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Here, the recording stopped. Because the auditorium was so large, the last sentence, a bunch of tiny ants, do you think I'm afraid of them? Was repeated 3 times, echoing everywhere. The entire administration's faces turned ash gray, their pupils contracting violently. The principal's face darkened. He finally remembered the source of this recording, trembling with anger. Emma Leon, you secretly recorded us. This is an illegal act. But his angry gaze immediately deflated when it met my father's icy stare. In terms of aura, he couldn't possibly compete with my father. My father gave a cold laugh and shot back, Tiny ants? The principal trembled and said, Mr. Jacob, I didn't mean that. My father asked again, So, is this recording fake? Or are you suggesting my daughter is slandering you? The moment my father publicly acknowledged me as his daughter, the complexions of those people looked as if they had just swallowed something rotten. My father continued in a deep voice throughout her 3 years of high school. My daughter never once relied on her family connections. All her achievements were earned through her own efforts. Does a person like that not deserve the early admission spot? The principal was practically on the verge of tears. No, that spot was originally intended for her. Mr. Jacob, please believe me. If I had known Emma Leon was your daughter, I absolutely would not have... My father interrupted. Are you saying that if it were someone else, you would continue to manipulate things in the dark? I couldn't help but secretly give my father a thumbs up. Those people could only stare, their faces pale and pleading, but no one could utter another word in their defense. In their hearts, they were now racked with such intense regret that their guts were tearing apart. Why did they have to make things so difficult for me? I was nothing but a little girl. Couldn't they have just looked the other way and let it go? Unfortunately, there is no medicine for regret in this world. Many reporters were invited to the ceremony that day. After the recording was made public, combined with the false rumors about me online, the journalists, who were highly sensitive to sensational news, finally realized the truth. Before long, the news exploded everywhere. I seized this opportunity to expose the school's entire malicious conspiracy against me. Public opinion was stirred up. It turns out Emma Leon was the real victim. I thought she was ungrateful, as the internet said, but it turns out she was framed. Schools playing these dirty tricks. It's truly disgusting. If my child were treated like this in the future, how would I have the ability to seek justice? It's a good thing Emma Leon had family support. Otherwise, wouldn't such an excellent child have her whole life ruined? Support a strict penalty. They deserve an appropriate consequence. A disgrace to the teaching profession. These types should be kicked out of the industry immediately. The matter became so loud that I didn't need to step forward myself. So, I lay in my room, enjoying the air conditioning and eating watermelon, while my sister-in-law excitedly updated me every day on the progress. An investigation team has been established. First, they're investigating the early admission spot case. Luna Henry's college entrance exam results have been canceled, and she's banned from taking the exam for 3 years. The school lost the lawsuit. Someone is about to have to go sew bags. Near the start of the new school year, the court's verdict was finally issued. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, my father finally had the leisure to capture me and sit me down, asking with a stern face, What major did you register for? I stammered, Well, he raised an eyebrow. Finance? I shrank my neck and whispered, Music. As soon as I finished speaking, I stared intently at my father's expression, unable to gauge whether he was happy or angry. I grew even more uneasy in my heart, quickly signaling my brother for help. My brother cleared his throat and intervened. Dad, I'm taking care of the family business. My sister really loves music. My father shot him a look, his imposing presence allowing no further argument. Then he turned to look at me and said, 3 years ago, on the day you enrolled, did you forget what you said to me? I lowered my eyes, my shoulders slumping, and replied, no. The atmosphere instantly became stifling. After a long moment, I finally gathered all my courage and said, but Dad, I've done everything I promised you. If you're still angry, then I can study both music and financial management. Before I could finish, he suddenly raised his hand toward me. I instinctively flinched, thinking he was going to hit me, but the next second, he gently placed his hand on my head and ruffled my hair vigorously. My father said, over the past 3 years, your efforts and perseverance have been clear to the whole family. To pursue your dream, you've achieved this much, no matter the field. I believe that as long as you are there, you will be second to none. When my father said this, his eyes seemed to glisten with tears. He continued, my daughter has truly grown up. She can handle everything on her own now. Your brother is also happy for you. My eyes immediately lit up with tentative hope, and I asked, so that means... My father smiled and replied, yes, study what you like, what you want to learn. Pursue your passion. Pursue your dreams. As soon as my father finished speaking, a heavy burden was lifted from the entire family. He looked at me, his voice gentle yet firm as he continued, I hope that one day you can become the most excellent musician, worthy of your own passion.